Ayaan Sharma was the kind of boy people often forgot in a crowd. Not because he lacked talent, not because he lacked dreams, he simply lacked noise. He was quiet, observant, and always thinking. His teachers describe him as the boy who solves problems nobody asked about. Yet, his mother described him as the child who was born old. And his father described him as a dreamer who needs a direction. At 16, Ayaan lived in a small rented apartment on the 4th floor of Lotus Residency, one of those places where you could hear the neighbors blender through the wall and where the lift always smelled faintly of burnt plastic. His father worked in the accounts office of a logistics company, and his mother gave tuitions at home. They were not rich, not poor, just in between. The kind of family that bought new clothes only on festivals and didn't order pizza without calculating the price per slice. Ayaan was average in everything except one thing: technology. Where other kids played games, Ayaan opened the game files to see how the graphics worked. Where other kids scrolled Instagram, he searched how Instagram is built. Where others complained about problems, Ayaan thought of how to fix them. His world was not divided into subjects like physics, chemistry, math. His world was divided into systems, logic, and flowcharts. His best friend, Rishi, often joked, "Bro, if someone kidnapped you and gave you a broken device, you'd fix it before escaping." Ayaan smiled every time. He knew Rishi wasn't wrong. Yet, despite all this, Ayaan had one huge problem. He didn't know what to do with his talent. Sure, he could code a little. Yes, he could build small games. And yes, he knew how to break and fix any phone. But he didn't know how to create something meaningful, something that would change lives. That changed one rainy afternoon. It was July, monsoon at its peak. The school corridors were wet. The classrooms smelled of damp uniforms. And the students were restless. Half the class was absent because of the storm, and teachers were in no mood to teach. So when their computer teacher didn't appear even after 20 minutes, the class erupted into excitement. Some played games on their phones. Some shouted across the room. Some threw paper rockets. Ayaan sat at the back, as usual, lost in his own world. Suddenly, something caught his attention. A girl sitting 2 benches ahead, Mira, was frustrated, almost panicking. Her phone kept flashing notifications. "Your storage is full." WhatsApp cannot download file. Gallery needs space. She sighed loudly. "Oh God, why does this always happen when I need to submit homework?" Ayaan watched silently. She deleted old pictures, deleted videos, deleted memes. Still the problem stayed. Then Ayaan noticed something. Every app on her phone had unnecessary duplicate files. Hundreds of them. Screenshots saved twice. WhatsApp images saved twice. Downloads stored again in unknown folders. A thought flashed in his mind. Why is there no simple app that automatically finds and deletes duplicates for you? He searched the Play Store. There were apps, but all were filled with ads, confusing buttons, and slow performance. None were simple enough. None were fast enough. None were made for people like Mira, people who weren't tech experts. For a second, Ayaan forgot the noisy classroom, forgot the storm outside, even forgot what period it was. His mind switched into flow. An idea took shape. A simple idea. A powerful idea. What if I build an app that cleans a phone with one tap? No ads. No confusion. No slow scanning. Just smart, clean, automatic optimization. He felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Clarity. The bell rang. The class rushed out. But Ayaan remained seated for a moment longer, staring at the rain outside the window. This could be something, he whispered to himself. That evening, he sat at the old second-hand laptop his father bought after saving for months. The keyboard wasn't perfect. The fan made airplane noises, and the battery was practically dead. But Ayaan wasn't thinking about limitations. He spent hours researching duplicate file detection algorithms, storage mapping, junk file prediction, pattern recognition. His mother called him thrice for dinner. He didn't hear her. His father knocked on the door. He didn't notice. At 1:47 a.m., Ayaan finally sat back in his chair, exhausted but excited. He had written the first few lines of code. Nothing big. Nothing groundbreaking. Just the beginning. But it felt different. It felt like the start of something that could change his life. And he had no idea how big this journey would become. The next morning, the storm had passed, leaving the streets wet and glistening. Ayaan didn't care about puddles or the drizzle. He was already thinking about the lines of code he wrote last night. The idea had lodged itself in his mind like a persistent drumbeat, relentless and exciting. Over breakfast, his mother noticed the unusual sparkle in his eyes. "You look different, Beta. Excited about something?" she asked. Ayaan nodded, smiling without saying much. He wasn't used to explaining his thoughts. Ideas in his mind were often faster than words. By the afternoon, he had set up a small workspace in his room. Old textbooks formed a barricade between his laptop and the world, as if protecting him from interruptions. Notes, sketches, flowcharts, and sticky papers littered the desk. Each represented a tiny step toward a bigger plan, Project Clean Space. The first prototype was rudimentary. It could scan folders, detect duplicate images and documents, and even suggest files to delete. It worked. Barely. Sometimes it crashed. Sometimes it deleted files by mistake. But to Ayaan, it felt like magic. He tested it on his own phone first. Nothing got deleted permanently. Everything was backed up. But the results were promising. His phone, cluttered for years, now had more space in minutes than he had ever achieved manually. The next test was Mira's phone. He approached her cautiously after school. "Hey, I built something. Can I try it on your phone?" Mira raised an eyebrow. "On my phone? Are you kidding? That thing has all my homework and pictures." Ayaan laughed nervously. "I promise, nothing will get lost. Just a quick test." She hesitated but gave in. Within 5 minutes, the app had scanned her phone. Duplicate files were flagged. Junk files identified. Space freed. While Mira whispered, staring at her suddenly lighter phone. "This is amazing." Her excitement gave Ayaan a small thrill of validation. But it also made him realize something important. This app could help millions of people, not just his friends. Back home, that evening, he researched app development platforms, learning about Android Studio, Java, and user interface design. He watched tutorials, read forums, and experimented with code. Sleep became optional, meals became secondary, and the little world inside his room became the center of the universe. Weeks passed. What started as a simple one-tap cleaner evolved into a polished application. Ayaan added features: automatic duplicate detection, cache cleaning, intelligent storage suggestions, user-friendly interface with minimal buttons. He named it Clean Space Simple, memorable, and clear. But as the prototype became more sophisticated, Ayaan realized the hardest challenge lay ahead: publishing it in the App Store. He didn't have money for professional testing or a designer. He didn't have a mentor or investor. And most importantly, he didn't know if anyone would actually download it. Still, Ayaan had learned one thing: if you build something useful, people will notice. So, with his meager savings, mostly money gifted by his grandparents for birthdays, he bought a developer account and uploaded Clean Space to the Google Play Store. He waited. Days passed. Nothing happened. Ayaan felt the familiar pang of doubt. Was this all just a waste? Would anyone care about CleanSpace at all? Then, on a Thursday morning, a notification appeared. Congratulations! Your app is live on the Play Store. Ayaan clicked. He saw his apps page. The words, the screenshots, the description, all of it. Finally, in the public domain. His heart pounded. He downloaded it himself to test once more. Everything worked. At that moment, he realized something extraordinary. This wasn't just an app anymore. It was a bridge between his idea and the world. The first download came in the afternoon. Ayaan's eyes widened. One user. One person in the vast world had chosen his app. Then another. And another. By the end of the week, CleanSpace had over 500 downloads. Users left feedback. Finally, an app that does what it says. So simple and fast, my phone feels new. No ads. Thank you. Ayaan smiled. Validation, small as it was, felt better than any reward he had received in school. And yet, he knew this was only the beginning. Millions of phones were cluttered with junk files. Millions of users needed a better, faster, smarter app. And if he could scale CleanSpace, there was no limit to what it could become. That night, as he lay in bed staring at the ceiling, he whispered to himself, "This is just the start. One day, this app will change lives, including mine." Ayaan woke up on Monday with a smile, thinking about the weekend's CleanSpace downloads. By Sunday night, the app had crossed 2,500 downloads, a small number for the world. But for a 16-year-old with no mentors and no budget, it felt like victory. He had barely finished his breakfast when a notification popped up. New update available for CleanSpace. Curious, he tapped it. But instead of excitement, his heart sank. The review section was filled with comments that weren't entirely positive. The app deleted some of my important files. It crashed on my phone. Slow on older devices. Ayaan felt a lump in his throat. He had tested the app on his own phone and Mira's phone. Both worked perfectly. How could it fail for so many users? He spent hours reading every comment, analyzing every crash report. The issue wasn't just one device. It was multiple models, multiple operating system versions, multiple configurations. For the first time, Ayaan felt fear. Fear that all his effort might fail. Fear that people would uninstall the app and forget it. Fear that maybe he wasn't ready. Rishi noticed his friend's gloom. "Bro, what happened?" Ayaan showed him the reviews. Rishi laughed gently. "Welcome to the real world, man. This is where ideas meet reality. And reality isn't always kind." Ayaan didn't laugh. He knew Rishi was right. This wasn't a game or a school project anymore. This was real users, real expectations, real consequences. Determined not to fail, Ayaan did something most teenagers wouldn't even consider. He called a mini meeting with himself. He listed the issues. He researched solutions online. He tested on every possible device he could borrow from friends and family. He read tutorials on crash debugging, memory management, and optimization. Days became nights, nights became mornings. Sleep became optional. Meals became snacks. His room looked like a tiny tech lab, wires everywhere. Old phones stacked in piles. Sticky notes with cryptic algorithms on the walls. Then came the first real breakthrough. Ayaan realized that the app was crashing on older devices because of memory overflow during duplicate file scanning. He smiled, almost shouting aloud. This was it. The problem was solvable. With renewed vigor, he rewrote parts of the code, optimized algorithms, and added a lightweight scanning mode for older phones. He tested, failed, debugged, and tested again, until the app worked flawlessly on every device he could find. Finally, he uploaded CleanSpace version 1.1 to the Play Store. The next day, the reviews began to change. Amazing. Works perfectly now. My phone has never been this fast. Finally, an app one can trust. Ayaan felt a rush of relief and pride. But the challenge had taught him a crucial lesson. Success wasn't just about building an idea. It was about refining, testing, and adapting to the real world. The next obstacle came unexpectedly. It started with an email from a company he had never heard of. Dear developer, we noticed your app CleanSpace. We have concerns regarding intellectual property and request immediate clarification. Ayaan froze. He read the email again and again. Was this some scam? Was his app going to be removed? Could this end everything he had built so far? Rishi tried to calm him down. Don't panic. Let's read carefully and respond professionally. Ayaan realized he had to think like a business person, not just a coder. He researched intellectual property rules, read App Store policies, and drafted a professional response explaining that the app was original, built from scratch, and did not copy anyone's work. A week passed. The tension was unbearable. Finally, another email arrived. Thank you for your clarification. Your app remains live. Best wishes for future success. Ayaan exhaled deeply. He had survived his first legal scare. That night, he sat in his room, exhausted but enlightened. He realized that building an app wasn't just about coding. It was about handling criticism, managing setbacks, and standing your ground. CleanSpace wasn't just a tool anymore. It was a teacher, showing him the rules of entrepreneurship before he even had a mentor. And in the back of his mind, Ayaan felt something new: ambition. He didn't want just 2,500 downloads anymore. He didn't want just positive reviews. He wanted millions of users. He wanted CleanSpace to reach every phone in the country, every phone in the world. And deep down, he knew this journey had only just begun. It started slowly, almost imperceptibly. Ayaan woke up one morning to find hundreds of new downloads on CleanSpace overnight. He rubbed his eyes, thinking it was a glitch. By midday, the downloads had reached 5,000, then 10,000 by evening. His app, which had once been a tiny experiment, was now catching fire. Social media played a role. A tech blogger had stumbled upon CleanSpace and written a short review. CleanSpace is the ultimate simple phone cleaner. No ads, no confusing options, just fast and effective. Highly recommended. Within hours, the blog post went viral. People started sharing screenshots of their storage before and after, using the app. Parents recommended it to children. Office workers recommended it to colleagues. And students sent it to friends. Ayaan was both thrilled and terrified. Thrilled because his idea was finally making an impact. Terrified because he was still a 16-year-old boy with no team, no experience, and no safety net. The surge brought unexpected problems. Server issues. His lightweight app relied on cloud storage to handle certain operations. The sudden increase in users caused minor crashes. User feedback. While most reviews were positive, some complained about slower scans on older phones. Technical support. Ayaan was receiving dozens of emails every day asking for help. He stayed up late, working tirelessly to fix bugs and respond to messages. His school grades began to slip, and his parents noticed his exhaustion. "Beta, you need to rest," his mother said one evening. "I will, Ma," Ayaan replied, "but I can't stop now. People are using my app. I can't let them down." By the end of the first month, CleanSpace had over 100,000 downloads. For Ayaan, it felt surreal. One evening, while he was debugging a minor crash issue, an email appeared in his inbox. Subject: Potential investment opportunity. Ayaan's heart skipped a beat. It was from a mid-sized venture capital firm in Bangalore. The email read, "Dear Ayaan, we are impressed by your app CleanSpace and its rapid growth. We would like to schedule a call to discuss potential funding opportunities. Ayaan stared at the screen. He had never spoken to an investor before. He didn't even know what questions they might ask. But he also knew this was a chance to take CleanSpace to the next level. The call was scheduled for the next week. Ayaan spent every spare minute preparing. He researched basic business terminology. He learned to explain his app clearly and concisely. He practiced answers to questions about competition, revenue, and user growth. The day of the call arrived. Ayaan sat nervously in front of his laptop, heart pounding. The investor on the other end was professional, calm, and highly experienced. "You've done an impressive job, Ayaan. But tell me, how do you plan to scale CleanSpace?" The investor asked. Ayaan took a deep breath. "I want to make CleanSpace *** the default phone cleaner for every smartphone user. I plan to expand features gradually, maintain simplicity, and ensure it works on all devices, including older phones. Revenue will come from optional premium features, but the free version will always remain ad-free." The investor smiled. Impressive vision for a 16-year-old. "I think there's potential here. Let's discuss the terms." Ayaan's eyes widened. He had never imagined holding a conversation like this in his life. Within a month, CleanSpace received its first investment of $50,000. To Ayaan, it wasn't just money, it was validation. Someone believed in his vision enough to bet on him financially. With the funding, Ayaan was able to hire a small team of coders and designers, upgrade the app's backend to handle millions of users, start professional marketing campaigns. The small experiment in his room had transformed into a real startup, and the world was finally paying attention. Despite the excitement, Ayaan remained grounded. He still coded alongside his team, still read every user review, and still remembered the stormy afternoon when the idea had first struck him. One evening, as he looked out of his small apartment window at the city lights, he whispered to himself, "This is just the beginning. One day, CleanSpace will be in every phone in the world." Little did he know, the next challenge would be even bigger: competitors, copycats, and the pressure of managing a growing startup. But for the first time in his life, Ayaan realized one undeniable truth. An ordinary boy with an idea and determination could change the world. Ayaan had barely settled into his new routine with his small team when trouble arrived, not from a bug, not from a technical glitch, but from the market itself. It started with a notification on his phone. Top trending app in utilities category, CleanMaster X. Curious, Ayaan downloaded it. The interface looked familiar. The features? Almost identical to CleanSpace. And worst of all, it had paid advertisements aggressively promoting it across social media, luring users away from his app. For the first time, Ayaan felt the sting of competition. He wasn't the only one with a good idea. Someone else was fast, well-funded, and ready to dominate. He called his team into a huddle. There were 3 coders and 1 designer, all slightly older than him. "We have a problem," Ayaan started, trying to sound calm. "There's a competitor, copying some of our features and spending big on marketing." Rishi, who had joined as a part-time consultant, frowned. "How fast are their downloads?" 10 times ours overnight, Ayaan replied grimly. "And they're ranking higher in app stores now." The team sat in silence for a moment. The reality hit. Success was not just about building an app. It was about staying ahead in the market. Ayaan knew they couldn't outspend a well-funded company, but he could outsmart them. "Listen," he said, determination burning in his eyes. "We have one advantage. They copied features, but they don't have our simplicity. Our users love CleanSpace because it's clean, fast, and reliable. That's our strength. We enhance that, we can win." The next week was a whirlwind. The team optimized the app further, reducing scanning time by 40%. They added a smart cleanup algorithm that automatically predicted which files were safe to delete. The interface was redesigned to be sleeker, more intuitive, and completely ad-free. Ayaan started a user loyalty program. Users could report bugs and suggest features, receiving small rewards or recognition for their contributions. Ayaan also realized that communication was as important as coding. He started writing short blog posts and making tutorial videos, explaining the features of CleanSpace, showing transparency, and building a community of users who trusted him. Gradually, the strategy worked. While CleanMaster X had flashy advertisements, CleanSpace had authenticity and reliability. Users began switching back, praising CleanSpace for not bombarding them with ads or unnecessary options. One day, Ayaan received an email from a user named Emily from London. I tried CleanMaster X but hated the ads. CleanSpace is so simple and effective. I recommend it to everyone here. Ayaan smiled. For the first time, he realized that the impact of his app was truly global. His idea had crossed borders, languages, and cultures. But the competition wasn't over. Soon, multiple copycats emerged. Some tried to replicate the design, some the features, and some even tried to hack into his back-end. Ayaan learned quickly, success meant not just innovation, but vigilance, resilience, and leadership. He began holding weekly team meetings. Each member had responsibilities: coding, testing, UI/UX, and customer support. Ayaan was still young, still learning, but he realized leadership wasn't about age. It was about vision, clarity, and motivation. Late one night, after reviewing crash reports and user feedback, Ayaan reflected. I started this as a boy with a small idea on an old laptop. Now I am managing a team, competing globally, and protecting an app that millions rely on. This is the real challenge, and I love it. The lesson was clear. Building an app was just the beginning. True success was about growing it, protecting it, and inspiring others to be part of the journey. And with every challenge, Ayaan became stronger, smarter, and more determined.